Horror Coast to Coast is a movie review podcast featuring strong language, horror film spoilers, and discussions of violence, gore, and disturbing subject matter. Listener discretion is advised.
Horror Coast to Coast.
Welcome to Horror Coast to Coast, where we review horror movies from opposite sides of the continental U.S. From inside the blob that has consumed all of Massachusetts, I'm Brian.
And never, ever, ever, ever sticking my bare hand down a clogged drain in California, I'm Michelle.
And this week we're talking about The Blob from 1988.
In a tiny California town, high school students Brian, Meg, and Paul discover a strange gelatinous substance that melts the flesh of any living creatures in its path. The deadly substance gets into the town's sewer system, where it begins growing uncontrollably, occasionally emerging to feast on unsuspecting townspeople. A military cleanup crew is sent to eliminate the menace, but may end up doing more harm than good.
I feel like they don't need to tell you that much.
Yeah.
We don't need to get all the way into the part where the military shows
I
up.
found
It's just a synopsis.
Yeah, I found several summaries, and I just sort of picked one that felt a little, I don't know. Maybe I didn't pick the right one. I usually just go with like the first one that comes up on my Google search, which tends to be the IMDb one. But I don't know what this one was. It might have been like a Wikipedia summary or something.
Oh, I just feel like if it's the summary that people who haven't seen it are going to read, you shouldn't talk about things that happen like halfway into the movie.
Yeah. Oh, actually, hang on. I know exactly why I picked this one. Because every other summary was just remake of the 1958 The Blob. And then that was it. It'd be like
Oh,
Chuck
really?
Russell's remake of the 1958 The Blob. And I was like, okay, that doesn't tell me anything. Or it would say remake of the 1958 The Blob where, and then it would start to describe the 1958 movie. So I was just like, okay, this is the only one that seems to be a plot of the one we're watching.
Well, damn, maybe we watched the wrong blob.
Yeah, it was on Criterion. I was like, where can I find this? Looked it up, and the first thing that popped up was Criterion. So I logged in Criterion, and I was like, wait, this is 1958. Where's the other one? And it wasn't on there because Criterion is like, classic movies. But the fact that it's on Criterion means maybe it's worth giving it a try. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, so we open the movie with a football game, and I feel like this is weirdly like the third movie we reviewed that opens with a football game.
Yeah. It's exciting. It puts you in the middle of things, and you're like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah, that's true. So we're introduced to Paul. He makes a catch and he's tackled into like the Gatorade table.
Yeah.
And then this cheerleader he's been eyeing, Meg, like comes and like investigates him and he's like, so you doing anything later?
Yeah. And that's after he had been sitting with his friend Scott, being like, I'm waiting for
Yeah.
the right time. So obviously, having been tackled and fallen to the ground, that's the right time.
And then outside in the woods a bit, we meet our bad boy, Brian Flagg, and we just get like this checklist of like mullet, check, leather jacket, check, motorcycle, check, underage
Yeah.
smoking and drinking, check, littering, check, brooding
Yeah.
alone in the woods, check.
Yeah. And they did this kind of cool thing where he goes to, I don't know what he was trying to do, some kind of Evel Knievel stunt. And he goes to do
Yeah.
it, but he's obviously nowhere near this football game. But the scene of the crowd cheering is lined up with him like revving his engine, ready to like do this stunt jump. Which again, I really don't know what he was trying to do because ultimately he doesn't do it. He just like wipes out.
Yeah, it's just like this decrepit bridge, and he's trying to like jump over it, but he just fails so miserably. It looks like he didn't even try.
It also looked like had he been successful, the other side of the bridge would have collapsed. So I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
what
probably.
are
I
you
mean, it
trying to
rotted out
do?
for a reason.
Yeah. But it was still cool to how the audience response overlapped with him doing that stunt. It was just like a cute parallel.
Yeah, it makes it look like he's gonna like jump the bridge and end up on the football field.
Oh yeah, it did. It looked like he was about to crash their event. But it turns out it was not related at all except for the sound parallels, which I
Yeah.
liked. And then after he crashes, there's like a hobo sitting on the side with his cute little blue healer, and he starts sarcastically clapping for him. It's very
Yeah.
funny, and I
He-
couldn't tell if he did this unintentionally, but he like essentially poured one out for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seemed intentional.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was just so funny. He has a little audience of his own.
yeah,
So after that, we see Paul and his buddy Scott go out to the pharmacy, and Scott's like, I gotta get condoms. So he asks the pharmacist, and then the Reverend shows up. He's like, oh, they're not for me, they're for Paul over
that guy
there.
over there. And the pharmacist is not at all impressed with this condom purchase, which is
Yeah, they're
so
both
typical because
glaring at him.
it's so typical that this is like the 80s attitude versus the 90s attitude because it's like in the 80s it's like you're having sex, and then the 90s it's like yes, it's protected, great.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got the judgment of both the pharmacist and the priest, and he's like, oh, it wasn't mine.
Yeah, and then we cut back to the hobo who's collecting some more cans, and a meteor like flies directly over his head. And it's almost like going horizontally like a missile. It's like right above his head, and then it
Yeah,
crashes into the woods. So yeah, the hobo investigates, and it's the meteor that he finds has like a big crack in it, so he like
yeah,
sticks a stick in and pulls out the goo. He's like dangling it above his face. It's like, what are you doing, guy?
yeah. I mean, he's got to investigate it.
Yeah, he lowers it, and then it like crawls onto his arm.
So that eventually Brian finds him, and I missed that scene.
Yeah, so I forget what Brian's doing in the woods, but he like comes out, and he's like hacking his hand off where the goo's taking it over. And the way this scene goes, it's like he had been waiting for Brian to show up, and then he like jumps at Brian and starts hacking his hand. Like he was waiting for someone to hack his hand off in front of.
I mean, or he was hesitating, I don't know, and he just happened to walk in after he had finally
But the
resolved to do
way
it.
it's shot, he like jumps out at him and then starts hacking his hand off.
Yeah, okay.
And Brian's like trying to stop him, but he like chases him out into the road, and then they hit him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's hit by Paul, who is on his date with Meg. And
Yeah.
before that happens, we have like a real awkward scene at her house where the brother is with his friends trying to convince the mom to let them
Oh
go
yeah.
to let them go to some slasher movie, and the mom is like, absolutely not. And
And the
then
way we cut to the scene is when the goo is taking over the hobo's hand, and it cuts to the kid slurping the jello.
yes, oh my god, yeah, I totally was like, gross.
That was an
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
insane
and then
scene change.
the 2 kids are sitting at the table, and they start talking about this movie, and it's like a slasher movie.
Yeah, like Garden Tool Massacre or something.
Yeah, and at the same time, Meg, who we realize after the fact is this little kid's sister, is upstairs getting ready for her date, and then Paul shows up, and she's like, "Oh, I just want you to meet my dad," and then it turns out the dad is the pharmacist, and you're like, "Oh, that's a funny coincidence," but he's just like, "Oh, I hate that kid."
Yeah. Yeah, and So the mom says like absolutely not to Kevin seeing this horror movie, and then him and his friend just like go off and see it.
Right.
She like forgot that she just forbade him from going to see it. And she's like, "Bye,
Yeah.
have fun."
Yeah, it was and then they're like, "Oh, I thought they said you were gonna be at your house." No, they said they were gonna be at your house. That happens later, and you're like, "When did these kids tell you this?" Because it looked like they just ran away.
Yeah, but she says bye. It's just like
Yeah.
they told mom that they were going to see this movie, and then they go,
Yeah.
and she doesn't stop them.
Yeah. But yeah, so then they're on their date and the hobo jumps into the road and Paul
Yeah,
hits him. I mean, it was kind of I was like, does he
yeah.
hit him or does he run into the road and he stops? I couldn't tell. Because I was like, if he hit him
It's
going that fast, he should be way more injured.
I think he like barely hit him.
Yeah.
So they get the hobo into the car, and then they're like, "Brian, you gotta come too, because you got some splaining to do. We don't know what the fuck is going on, so you
Yeah.
can explain it." And so they go to the ER, and then almost immediately Brian's like, "So anyway, peace."
Yeah. He
He
is
doesn't.
he is
He's like, "They're not
Captain.
gonna."
Yeah, he is Captain Self-Preservation. This whole movie, he's like, yeah, we should just leave.
Yeah,
And I was kind of about it. I was like, yeah, get the fuck out of there. Um, okay, so then they get to the hospital and there's a weird little scene where the nurse is just not having it. They're like, this man needs help. This man needs help. And she's like, 1 second, please. And she's flipping
yeah.
through what looks like her charts, but she's flipping through it like it's a magazine. Like she's just entertaining herself, like, hang on a second, I'm almost done. And then it's not until she stacks the papers that you're like, oh, she was like actually doing work. But the way she responded to them was just like, I'm on my break or something. And then she's like, does he have Blue Cross? And they're like, what?
Yeah,
What are you talking about? He's injured. Send the doctor.
yeah. Yeah, this random homeless guy you ran over have Blue Cross.
Yeah. And they're like, I don't
Probably
know. I
not.
mean, he's injured. What's going on? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but finally they treat him, and then like Paul goes to check on him, and there's like weird movement under his like blanket, and then his head turns, and he has like a giant lump in his throat and white
Yeah.
eyes,
It's gross.
and he's shouting for the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Do you mind? I'm with a patient."
Yeah.
And he's like, "He's fucking dying out here."
Yeah, so Paul manages to bring the doctor back in the room and they take the blanket off and this man is like completely corroded.
Yeah, there's like nothing from the waist down, and it looks like deep dish pizza.
Ew.
He's just rotting away. Oh, and the
Yeah.
doctor is Jack Nance,
Yes.
which I was very happy about.
Yeah, I did. I noticed that too. But that's the only part he appears in. And then he leaves
Yeah,
and then Paul turns around and a blob on the ceiling drops on his head like altered beasts.
yeah, and Pop fucking dies.
Paul gets
I
got so quickly. And
I
I was
thought we were gonna have like a thruple situation like in Killer Clowns.
yeah, I was like, why is he even in the summary? Because it says high school students Brian, Megan, Paul. Paul is a blip on the radar and then he's gone. I was like,
I know, and the whole beginning of the movie sets him up like he's the main character. It's
yeah. So then
crazy.
he's just like
Like
gone.
all this backstory, and he's just gone.
Yeah.
And it's funny, this is like the one scene of this movie I'd seen is when she discovers him, and I had no idea that was Paul because you can't tell at all when he's
Yeah.
totally engulfed by the blob.
Oh, huh. I hadn't seen any scenes from this movie, but it was I was just very surprised because not only was he set up to be the main character, he was likable too. I mean,
Yeah.
I wasn't like he was the most amazing character, but I was like, I see no problems with him. All right, I'm willing to follow him. And then he just
And he
dies.
got a raw deal. First, he gets humiliated in front of his date's dad, and then he
Yeah.
gets got like in a horrible, brutal way immediately.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
damn,
Paul
what
Paul
did
did
Paul do
not
to deserve this?
Paul did not deserve that at all. Um, I actually filled out this chart that I found while I was watching this. It was just like a random movie journal chart, and it had all of these like little questions, like, is this a love story? And like, is there a sequel? Stuff like that. And one of the parts was like saddest moments. And I wrote down two. The first one is Paul getting got so quickly. And the second one, you probably can guess it, but it's later.
Yeah,
Oh, so then we cut to Scott, right?
yeah. Scott's like, they're parked and they're drinking, and he's like, "Let me get you another." She's like, "I've had enough." He's like, "You never had enough."
Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah.
immediately we're off on a bad foot already. And then
Yeah.
he goes and opens his trunk, and he has a whole
A
ass bar with like
full
fresh
bar.
strawberries.
Yeah, and he's mixing it with like a frother or something. I don't know. He's like mixing this drink. Uh Meanwhile, the blob is just like roaming through the grass like a snake.
Yeah, and he brings the drink back, and she's already passed out. So of course he has to start pushing boundaries.
Yeah. No, he
It's-
this scene was like as cringe as it could get until it resolves. Because I was like,
yeah.
"Oh my god, the 80s. What are you doing? This is like full on about to be like a date rape scene." And then he is like, "Oh, your shirt. You must be so hot." And this and his date, who is Erica Eleniak, and I do not know why I know her name, but I knew this actress, and she's passed out, completely asleep, and he's like, "Oh, the sweater. It must be so hot. Let's take that off of you." And then, of course,
Yeah.
he sticks his hand down her shirt and gets his comeuppance.
Yep.
Gross, actually, but at the end, I was like, "Oh, phew, okay. I don't have to worry about the morals of the I don't have to worry about the morals of the movie just yet."
Yeah, it took a long time to get there though. That was a long scene.
Yes, it did take a long time. That's why I said it was cringy until it got to the end, because I was just
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, he's full on going for it." And then I'm like, "Oh, okay, they set it up so that you see he gets what's coming to him," which is kind of like, man, I don't know, did they have to do it to begin with or whatever? They could have done this a different way. Um, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I don't think it had to go that far. I think they could have had him being a bit of a sleazebag, and then he probably could have got killed before, like, at the bar,
At the
at
bar,
his
that's
little
what I was
trunk bar.
thinking. Yeah. No, I was
Yeah.
thinking, I mean, and he's even pushing her and she's like, "No, no." And he's like, "But you're wearing my ring."
He also has, like, a box full of class rings, like,
Oh,
right there with his bar.
I did not see that. Oh my gosh. That is so funny. I did not see that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So Scott is a goner, and then where are we next?
So,
Oh, the
the
police station.
wait, what happens at the police station? I know, they scooped up Brian, and then they just let him go, don't they?
Yeah. So after Paul dies, Meg sees it and she starts screaming, and so then the next scene is the hospital with the cops.
Yep.
And they're basically like, "Oh, we know who's responsible for this," and they pick up Brian. And so then the next scene, oh, and then they're like, "Oh, take Meg home. She's hysterical." I'm like, well, "How is she hysterical? She's upset." But
Well, because she
again,
was
80s.
probably saying a blob thing ate him.
Yeah, that's true. She was giving her version of the story because she does emphasize no one believes me later on. Um, but yeah, she's taken home by her parents and they take Brian to the station and the cops are immediately like, well, I don't know. I actually think it ends up being like a very clear good cop, bad cop situation.
Yeah. But they end up letting him go, and then Meg like comes and like, we need to talk. and then they go to the diner.
Yeah. And they have some words, and eventually he's like, okay, I'll help you.
Yeah, and at one part she says you know what happened, as if he saw the whole Paul situation, but he only saw
Right.
some homeless guy with a blob on his hand. He doesn't she acts like he knows the whole situation where he doesn't know shit.
Yeah.
So he's
But at the
not
same
really
time,
that inclined to believe her.
and I totally understand his perspective, because at the same time, at no point was she like, Brian wasn't even here when this happened. Like, she doesn't stand up for him
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, because he didn't even
So
see the homeless guy after his bottom half rotted away.
yeah, he didn't
He
even see
left
that happen.
immediately, so he doesn't know shit. But
Right.
she acts like he should know all of this.
No.
But then out back the drain is clogged in the kitchen, and the waitress gets
Yeah.
the cook George to take a look at it, and the blob comes out and it pulls him in. And somewhere
Yeah,
along the
after he
line,
sticks his
shoe,
hand.
yeah, after he sticks his hand in, and at some point his shoe comes off. He has one shoe on and one barefoot as his feet are sticking out of the drain.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. But this
everyone
is like
comes into the kitchen and it's Brian's now I believe you.
yeah. So then essentially they start to be pursued by this blob, which is like, as the movie progresses, the blob gets bigger and bigger as it continues to consume. But at this point, it's still pretty small.
Yeah.
So it's just like a blob, right, at the top on the ceiling, and it comes after them, and they run into the freezer.
Yeah. And it starts coming under the door, but then it's too cold, so it stops and it goes back.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the waitress is escaping out the window and she runs into the phone booth. And earlier she was flirting with the sheriff and he gave her his number just in case. And so she's calling that and she's like, send Sheriff Herb Geller. And they're like, oh, he's on his way to the diner. And then as the blob is consuming the phone booth, we see him with half his face missing just float across.
Yeah.
It's like, no, Herb. And
Yeah,
then he
and I
just
like
consumes the entire phone booth. And
yeah,
yeah, this poor waitress.
yeah. And that was the good cop.
Yeah.
Okay, so after this happens, what happens after this? Do they run into the woods and that's where they meet the military people?
Okay, well, first, the Reverend shows up and collects some crystals.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and then he just disappears.
Yeah, and then he just disappears. And then they go to the police station and they hear that there's something going up at where the meteor crashed. So they head up
That's
that
right.
way. And then they get rescued at gunpoint by guys in hazmat suits. And I'm getting
Yes.
piranha vibes
Oh, I was getting ET
when they got
vibes.
that yeah, that too. But I was just thinking of when we watched Piranha and the military just show up and they're like, yeah, we're rescuing you. It's for your
Yeah.
own good.
Yeah, for sure. But the way they explain it to them is basically, somehow this is another explanation for the dinosaurs dying out.
Yeah, it seems like it's basically the bacteria that carried by the meteor wiped them out and it could wipe us
Yeah.
out, so they have to contain it.
Right. So that's the explanation. That's explanation number 1 that we're given. Um,
Yeah.
so then they're like, "Okay, we just need you to get in this van and we'll take you someplace safe."
Yeah. And he's like, no, thanks. I have a motorcycle. We can take off on our own. And then they're like, yeah, you're coming with us. They pull guns on him.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the theater and those kids are watching that movie. And for some reason, his friend Eddie wears
Is wearing
headphones in the theater.
headphones. Yeah,
What is
was
going on with
that?
this?
I was like, "What? I don't get it." Is there something, maybe there was a thing with, theaters in the 80s that we just don't know about, where they could, plug their headphones in or something, I mean, I can do that with my Roku, but I don't know what this is about. Like, I feel like maybe he's like, maybe they're protective because the theater's too loud. I don't know. I can't
I
tell.
don't know. I
It
was
was
so
very weird.
confused.
Yeah. But he seems to be
But
like
anyway,
watching it.
yeah, he's watching the movie eating popcorn, but he's got like over-ear headphones on.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
up in the projection room, the projectionist is complaining that it's too hot, and his boss is like, "Well, it's AC's on full blast." So he takes a look in the vent, and the blob gets him, and we see him when his boss comes in. He's like mounted to the ceiling,
Yeah.
flattened to the ceiling.
Yeah. It's gross, man. All of the times where they show the people who have been consumed by the blob, it's disgusting because
Yeah,
their
it's
skin is
really nasty.
their skin is translucent and bloody underneath, or there's just like some kind of mucus texture. It's very gross. The blob on its own, not that gross, but the
Yeah,
people being consumed is disgusting.
yeah, for sure. Then we cut back to Meg and Brian in the van, and Meg just like completely trusts them, even though they basically had to get in this van at
Huh, yeah.
gunpoint. And she's like trying to convince Brian, like, it's fine, they're good
Yeah.
guys. And he's like, I'm looking up for number one. And he like busts the door open and
Yeah.
jumps out
No, he is
and
100%.
leaves her
He is
behind.
100% self-preservation. That's to me. I'm doing it. Bye. Um, and you learn earlier when he's at the police station that his mom is an alcoholic and his dad is nowhere to be found. So he's cast as that character who essentially has always had to look out for himself. And so you see that repeating throughout the movie. Um, and he's right. That's the best part. He's
Yeah.
framed as like the criminal and the bad boy, but he's right. So then they usher Meg to was it a church, I think, is where they're trying to push all the townspeople?
I thought it was like City Hall or something.
Yeah, something like that. They're putting everyone in this contained space to quarantine them, and they're telling them all that there's some kind of contagion. And right away, she finds her parents who are like, "Where's your brother?" And then Eddie's mom is like, "He was with you." And they're like, "No, they were with you." And they realize, "Oh crap, they went out to the movie." And so then Meg is like, "We have to go find him." And the quarantine dudes are like, no, you have to stay here. We'll take everything. We'll take care of everything by sector." Which I have to be honest, that seemed reasonable and that seemed like I get that in the end it wasn't true or, they wouldn't have got there in time, but it felt kind of weird that they were like, "We'll take care of it. We're going by sector. We're getting everybody." And they're like, "No, that's not what's happening. We have to go save him." Which we learned, yeah, they had to.
Yeah, as if she knows that the theater is currently under attack.
Yeah. There was a little bit of a disconnect there. And then her dad, of course, stepping in like, "I pay
Yeah,
your
yeah. He's like,
salary.
let me
We don't
talk
have
to
to
your
do
manager.
anything." And you're just like, "Oh my God, shut up."
And then she sneaks off. She shows up and like the blob is already consumed like 90% of the moviegoers. It's just like the whole center of the theater is the blob. And somehow miraculously Kevin and his friend Eddie have survived.
Yeah.
But anyway, she gets the two kids out. And then Eddie's brother's the usher and he like sees them leaving as they like
Which I was
escape into
like,
the
"What?
sewer.
Why?" I mean, I get it, you're cornered, but like, oh gosh, that does not seem like it's gonna end well. Um, but then we also cut back to the government folks.
Yeah, Brian's like hiding in a bush and they're like digging up what looks
Yeah,
like the Death Star
yeah,
out
and
of the ground.
let me just say that the head scientist is a Black microbiologist who is like I can't tell if he's well-intentioned, but ultimately corrupt, or if he's just misguided, or if he feels the pressure of his job. Like, I really cannot get a read on him until the very end. But during this part, we're like, I guess just listening, like, okay, so now you're telling us it isn't a meteorite that just came from space. It's man-made, and it's an experiment that you were running with a virus that is now mutated and taken on a life of its own.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like a bioweapon.
That was developed intentionally.
Yeah.
So then this ends up being like an arms race theme.
Yep. Yeah, so then Brian flees and they're like attacking him, and he goes off that little
Yeah.
broken bridge and he makes the
Yeah.
jump this time.
He makes the jump.
You love to see that character growth.
Yeah. And then they tell the head microbiologist, like, also that girl escaped to go find her brother. And he's like, find her at all cost. And he's like, okay, well, what do we do if she gets in the way of us containing this entity? And he's like, she's expendable. And I was like, I knew it. I knew he was gonna say she's expendable, because that's like the whole
Yeah.
theme of like how they're approaching it. Like, we have to contain the experiment at all costs, and we don't care if people get in the way. So that's that trope.
Oh, they also say here that like, oh, it's in the aqueducts. As long as we like seal off these three things, it'll stay. And I'm like, I don't believe that. This thing like goes up on land. It goes like it goes up on the ceiling. It does whatever it wants, and you're just like, yeah, as long as we seal these three exits off, it'll be contained.
Yeah, it also seems like it could easily squeeze through crevices. So even if you have something closed off, it could slip through cracks. So yeah,
I feel like they already lost at this point. Like, if we're being realistic, this is like if the thing was in the continental United States, and it's just like, yeah, it's already over. By the time you notice it, it's game
one
over.
of the scientists says that that lead guy is like, this is gonna put us so far ahead of like the Soviets in the arms race or whatever. And the other guy's like, this is gonna consume the entire United States. There won't be a United States to be a part of this arms race. I don't know what is going on in your head, but we're all gonna die if we don't stop.
I'm on that guy's team.
Yeah, that guy's like, what are you talking? He's like, the US is gonna be ahead. He's like, there won't be a US. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, so then down in the sewer, they're about to escape, and then Eddie gets like grabbed, and then Eddie fucking dies.
Oh my god, that was my second sad scene. No, Eddie.
That was so sad. I was like, what? No way. They just brutally killed like an 11-year-old. What the fuck?
And she goes.
He's like, his face is all melted and shit.
And she goes to save him. And there's a moment where you think she might grab him, and you're like, oh, she's a kid. She's gotta save him. No, she doesn't. I was like, what? So surprised.
Yeah, this movie has no chill. First Paul, now fucking Eddie.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, Eddie. What did he do except convince his friend to go see an inappropriate movie? Poor kid.
Yeah, I didn't think he was dead until he came back up and his head's like all melted. He looks like little zombie Jason from the first Friday movie.
Yeah, I was like, this kid's not dead. And then they show him all like pre-digested. It was just disgusting, but also super shocking.
Yeah.
Okay, so then
Meg sends Kevin off, and she can't fit through the grate, so she's like, go on me. And then she jumps back into the water, and I'm like, what are you doing? Why? First, that's like suicide, and second, that's just generally disgusting.
That's true, but I think the reason she does it is because some of those military dudes show up, and they essentially start, one shoots and they're like, no, we have to bring it back at all costs. And it is directed its attention at them. And I think she jumps when it's not paying attention.
No, yeah.
But yeah, she jumps back in the water, and I was kind of like, oh no, run. But she does, and then she climbs up the steepest, slipperiest slant I've ever seen, and makes it enough of the way that Brian comes up out of nowhere and pulls her up.
Yeah, he just comes by on the motorcycle. It's like, how did you get here? Did he know she was gonna be here? Is this just a crazy coincidence?
Yeah. And also, where is here? What is that place?
Yeah.
Like the entrance to the sewers, the exit to the sewers. I don't know. I feel like I've never encountered a structure like this. Like how where I don't know. It's just like a coincidence.
Yeah, and I think this is when she comments, like, what happened to looking out for number one.
Oh yeah.
And his response should have been like, I don't even know how I got here. I didn't know you would be
Yeah.
here. It's like,
Not to
I'm still looking
mention,
out for number one. You just happened to be
yeah.
there.
Yeah, not to mention he had been chased away by men who were shooting at him. So all he really has to say is, I was looking out for number one. You're just lucky that it got me here to pull your ass out of sewer.
Yeah. So they like find a manhole, and then up top, that the like government leader guy Meadows orders the manhole shut, and they shut the thing, and they like drive a van on top of it to keep it shut, even though one of their
Oh.
own guys is down there with them.
Yeah.
And this guy just happens to have like a rocket launcher on his back. And Brian grabs it and he's like, it won't do anything to that thing. He's like, I don't care about that. And he just blows up the manhole and also the van that's on top of the manhole.
Yeah. Tried to get in the way of him and number one. Okay.
Yeah. So then he's like up top and he's got an assault rifle. He's waving around, telling everyone how it's all a lie and how it's all
Yeah.
a government weapon and all that shit.
And the bad cop is there and he's like, kid, put down the gun. Because I know
Yeah.
you're a bad seed and you're obviously responsible for this somehow.
And then like a tentacle comes up out of the manhole and grabs Meadows and rips him down to the
Yeah.
sewer.
Oh, and meanwhile, Meadows orders them to shoot him. Orders them to
Oh
shoot a
yeah.
kid and is like, he's contagious. He's he's infected and he's gonna spread it to everybody. So he's like essentially trying to cause mass panic, but also trying to turn everyone against him or make it seem like the shooting is justified or whatnot. But at this point, I was like, oh, okay. So he is a microbiologist who is black, who happens to be the lead scientist, and he's also corrupt. And he's giving them all kinds of orders that everyone is raising their eyebrow to. They're like, I don't know about this. But like, once the black guy who was leading them astray is gone, the white dudes step in and promptly make it worse.
Yeah. Yeah, so at this point, the blob just starts like stomping through the town like it's Godzilla.
Yeah.
And the effects of the blob vary greatly shot to shot here. Like sometimes it looks like really cool, and other times it's like, is this from like the 60s or
Yeah. There's a shot of them running away from it, and it looks like green screen kind of the monster chasing them like in like a
yeah.
60s movie. It was kind of weird.
Or like a SpongeBob parody of one of those movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, with like they're running and nothing's chasing them, but they have to like pretend so that the item could be superimposed behind them in like post
Yeah.
production or something. It's kind of funny.
Oh, so one of the hazmat guys tries to attack it with a flamethrower, but it like backfires and it sets the Reverend on fire.
Yeah.
And
The
then
Reverend.
Meg puts him out with the fire extinguisher, and the blob like comes at her and she hits that with the fire extinguisher, and she's like, the cold! It doesn't like the cold!
Yeah.
And then that gets Brian to like drive a snow machine truck, and he like crashes it.
Yeah. And somehow it diffuses through the entire organism and freezes it. It
Yeah.
like does not make sense.
Yeah, and also, so like they blow it up, like Meg blows it up. Did she have a bomb? I felt like I missed where she had a bomb.
Yeah, I blinked and this scene took place. And I was like, okay, he drives this truck into it. And yes, the truck is filled with cold shit. So now it's exposing it to the cold. But this thing is massive. So just exposing one piece of it doesn't seem like it's going to freeze it through and through. And I was thinking, I don't think the cold is some special, like, kryptonite for this thing. I assume it's functioning just like any other gelatinous substance in as we understand it, that, it's mostly water, so if you freeze it, it will stop moving, right? That's kinda what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking there's anything special. So it's not like you just touch it with a snowflake and the whole thing freezes through.
Well, she blew up a big, like, tank of I don't know what it is, like Freon or something.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, apparently it's that adverse to cold that will it would just, like, blows into, like, crystals, basically.
Yeah. And it all had this, like, sparkly kind of essence coming off of it, like a glowing light, like, "Oh, like color out of space.
Oh, yeah.
Pink, but, like, not pink."
Yeah, so then it's like it's snowing and everyone it's like this happy ending and like Kevin comes out and he's like, "Oh, it's snowing." I'm like, dude, you just saw your best friend brutally die like 20 minutes ago. Why are you having this like
Yeah.
happy ending where
Kid moment.
it's snowing in California? Like, kid,
Yeah.
you are traumatized. Sit the fuck down.
I mean, but maybe that's a function of his trauma, like,
I can't.
he can't process what's happened, he just sees snow.
It
Maybe
was
it didn't
just
happen.
it was so weird to have this happy, like, Gremlins ass ending after it had absolutely no chill to Paul and Eddie.
I actually thought of Gremlins too, that's very funny, especially with the snowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very
I
Gremlins
also thought
ending.
of that Buffy episode where it was snowing in California and they had
Oh,
the
yeah,
really
yeah.
fake ass snow.
That's a weird trope. That's a very weird trope that, like, Californians are just thirsty for snow constantly. Because 'cause I'm like, "That's just SoCal. It snows in Tahoe." Like, get a grip, Hollywood. I know that's where you guys are, but there's more to California than Hollywood. But, yeah, there is definitely this trope that Californians are just thirsty for snow constantly. It's very
Yeah.
but yeah, there definitely was like a "It's snowing, oh my god." And then one random character, I think it was the guy who, the truck driver is like, "I told you there'd be snow."
Oh, it was Brian's boss at the garage
Oh, yeah, that's
that
right.
he borrowed the ratchets from.
Right. Oh, man.
So then we get like an epilogue and we get the
Yes!
preacher. He's all burned up. He looks like that preacher from that episode of X-Files. You know the one I'm talking about?
Oh,
There's
vaguely. I
like
don't know what
the
episode it is.
kid who does the miracles, and then there's like the burned up guy who's like always standing next to him.
Oh, I
But
think I know what you're talking about.
he reminded me
Except
so much of
my
him.
the problem is that I have several other, shows that have that same setup. First, there's
Yeah.
My Name Is Earl with the little thing God's little finger said heal. That shit's so funny. But then there's also a Supernatural episode where, it's the one where Dean, like I forget what happens. He either gets electrocuted or struck by lightning or something insane happens and his heart is, like, fried. And a reaper's coming after him and he's pretty sure he's gonna die soon, and they go to this, like, faith healer, and it's just like an evangelist, right? And then anyhow, that episode kind of made me think of that ending too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and then at the end, he's like, "Praise the Lord," and he holds up his little jar of goo.
Well, the lady's like, when is it? When's the day of reckoning? And he's like, soon, looking into his jar of of
Yeah,
blob crystals, like he's
yeah,
gonna
but
cause the day of reckoning soon.
yeah, he definitely says something like, "The Lord says it shall be soon," or something like that. Like, he's looking at this jar as either granting him some kind of insight or it's his connection to some power. That was definitely the vibe that I got at the end. And it makes sense because there were several sequels to the original movie, and I don't know if there was a sequel to this one, but it makes sense that it would kind of go in that direction.
Yeah. And I was wondering, like, so they just treat the blob as defeated when it's all these like ice crystals. But I'm like, what happens if it just falls back into the blob? Like
Yeah.
how?
That's what I was
Like,
thinking.
the guys like scoop that up and put it in the ice chest or whatever. I'm like, how do we know this isn't still an existential threat?
Right. Unless they pack it up and ship it to Antarctica and just like don't ever dig it up.
Don't they have enough dealing with the thing? You want to send the blob there too?
Yeah,
Kurt
I mean,
Russell can't catch a break.
but the thing is not impervious to the cold. This is not. So, there's got to be okay, then ship it to I don't know, the other side, the Arctic, right? Okay, so first I have to say I love that TriStar production theme. It's very dumb, but when I saw that stupid horse, it
Yeah,
brought me
that's a
right back to
great
childhood,
it's a great
and I was
production
like,
card.
I know, I really love that. And then something about this cast kind of uh uh, like I liked them right away because we have Paul, who is played by Donovan of music fame Donovan, his son, Donovan Jr.
Oh.
And then we have Kevin, played by Matt Dillon's little brother. No, sorry, his name is Brian. Brian, played by Matt Dillon's little brother, Kevin. And then we have Shawnee Smith from her pre-Jigsaw days.
Oh
So
yeah. Yep.
I kind of like loved this like little cast. And then we have a couple of other people that I recognize just from seeing, but I didn't know their names. Like I've seen that pharmacist somewhere. Like I told you, I immediately saw Erica Oleniak. I don't know. Again, I do not know how I know her or where she's from. I feel like she was like some '90s small time actress that I've just seen a few times. And then let's see. There were a couple of people who stood out to me, and I didn't go and look their names up, but I was like, "I've seen this person before. I've seen the Reverend before.
Yeah.
Um, I've seen the waitress before, the one who owned the diner. I've seen the sheriff before. Like these are all actors who have this wasn't like a whole bunch of no-name actors thrown in this movie. It was like a bunch of people who I think had roles in other things afterwards. But yeah, a lot of 80s nonsense, a lot of like parents kind of suck nonsense. And then I wrote down my favorite quote of the movie. The men here from GLAD are here to show us how to store our leftovers, which is which is what Brian says when I think it's the sheriff, not the sheriff, the deputy. I think when the deputy's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Well, the men here from GLAD." Very funny.
uh,
So I don't know. I tried to have one of the prompts on this thing I filled out was like moments that prompted reflection. And so I kind of tried to think about that a little bit, but I don't know, it wasn't that simple for something like this. It felt like this was just a fun movie that was a remake of an original. I don't know if there was anything. Maybe the original, having been a product of the 50s, had some other messages. Um, because I know a lot of those movies were kind of riding on the coattail of like keeping the public focused on one thing to take their eyes off of politics and you know what I mean?
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I didn't see anything incredibly uh nothing super deep here. I mean, there's the theme of like the blob as this mechanism that consumes everything, as this government made entity that just consumes everything. And if we let it go unchecked, that's like grasping at straws though. But
I think the
it's
message is always look out for number one.
100%. Brian knew where it was at. Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm with him. I agree with him. Uh then there was a little blob that was like character analysis, and I was like, I don't have any characters that I would analyze. The only thing is, I wrote Meg is overprivileged and well intentioned, but still kind of snobby.
She
Uh,
gets pretty badass at the end though, when
she
she's
gets
running
better at the
around with the
end.
shotgun and stuff, like or the assault rifle, whatever it was.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, she kind of stepped it up.
yeah.
From the point where she rescues her brother onward, she's pretty badass.
Yes, she gets better for sure, but she starts out, especially in the conversations she has with Brian, where he's like, "You haven't said shit to me in 3 years. Why would I help you?" And I'm like, "That is so true." So many times we see these movies where these random characters from different walks of life pair up and you think like, oh, this is the first time they've ever had a chance to cross paths, when that's not fucking true. They've been in classes with each other, like in the faculty, right? All those kids. Why would they ever say anything to each other? Um, this is kind of the same situation where he's like, why would I talk to you? And it's funny that now that I think about this, I would assume that the faculty is derived from this to some degree. Alien entity comes to the planet trying to take over. Different mechanism, but still kind of the same idea. And then people who weren't necessarily part of the same social circles teaming up to survive or defeat it or whatever.
Yeah,
Same idea.
it's like the same dynamic as Pike and Buffy too. It's a biker and a cheerleader.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're
That's a
like,
that's a
we
thing
don't
that
talk to each other, but then they're like besties by the end of it.
yeah. No, there's definitely I don't know what the theme or the trope is, but there's definitely a pattern of pairing like bad boy who's misunderstood with privileged sheltered girl who is everyone's sweetheart. Um and I do like that pairing because it always and it typically, maybe not always, typically what you see is the the male softens or you see a side of him that, he was hardening for the rest of the world to see. And then the girl finds things that she is capable of that she didn't realize she was capable of. So that's kind of a nice thing. Um we also saw that in there was another movie we saw it in. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, yeah, I feel like we've seen that a bunch. And I'm not mad at that trope if that's, you know, something we see again in other things. Because I do think it's a good mechanism for character growth, especially for characters like that who start out as stereotypes, right?
Yeah, and he was going hard with the stereotypes at the beginning. You get like so much bad boy tropes in like 30 seconds where he's like smoking a cigarette and chugging a beer on his motorcycle with his leather jacket and he like throws the beer can aside. It's so funny.
Yeah. And then of course, there's always the underlying trauma bonding where
Yeah.
we were both just running away from this monster from outer space trying to eat us all. So now obviously when we come out on the other end, we're friends. But yeah, okay. You have anything else?
So I just really loved all the gruesome effects. It reminded me a lot of The Thing, just like how messed up all these people get. And that first
Yeah.
one, like that Paul death was so gruesome. He's just like melting away and she's pulling at him and the arms just come off and oh.
Yeah, it was gross. Okay.
But yeah, I liked it. So if we're ready to rate, I think I'd give it a 3.5.
Okay. I have given it a 2.5. And I think for me, if this is just entertaining with also showing off some special effects, I say that by itself is 2.5. The story was fine. I just don't feel like there was any real point, I guess, in telling the story the way it was told. Like, I think that if we're going back to the thing, there was a lot of like layers and a lot of depth, and I just didn't feel that here. And so for me,
Yeah,
that's
well.
2.5 for me.
Well, that's why The Thing's a 5 for me, and that this is a three and a
Yeah.
half. But like, I feel like it reminded me of like just like Piranha was like it was serviceable, but like this checked all those boxes and then more. I think was more solidly entertaining.
Yeah. Okay. I definitely can see where you're coming from with that, but I think for me, I am not a huge fan of like the small town aspect.
I like that. That definitely reminded me of Gremlins, and I just
Yeah.
love that aspect in Gremlins is done so
Yeah,
well.
but here I didn't think it was. Like, if you're gonna have this small
No,
town
not as
aspect
well.
where it's built, and the small town stuff was built, right? The pharmacist knew the reverend, and everyone knows each other, and then the pharmacist is her dad, and it's just lots of connections between everyone. But then that is sort of where it stayed. It sort of didn't really go anywhere. And I mean, I guess at the end of the day,
Yeah.
Brian was what everyone thought of him, or he had a reputation and everybody knew it because the town was small. But yeah, there was just something missing for me. Um, which isn't, it's not a terrible thing, and I'm not saying I hate it. I just say, for if we're just looking at all the categories that in the boxes I check, I would say this is a 2.5. But okay, what are we doing next week? Consult. Is it a hat?
The pouch.
It's a pouch. Consult the pouch of destiny.
All right, next week we're watching Triangle from 2009, directed by Christopher Smith.
Okay, I've never heard of
Yeah,
this.
I don't really know anything about it, but I've heard it's good, so we'll check it out.
Okay. Where are the stuff that's in the pouch? Is that from our initial spreadsheet and you just
Yeah,
cut
I
those
put
up
like
and threw them
everything
in?
that wasn't
Okay.
rated 1 star when I Googled it. There were a couple that were like, I'm not
Okay.
putting that in.
Okay, well, that's thoughtful of you. A couple of things that I also wanted to say you should probably throw in there. One, which I think it may be a 1-star movie, but everyone has mentioned it to me because it involves like podcasters,
Is that
and everyone's like, you
Undertone?
guys should see Undertone, yeah. And then apparently Lee Cronin's The Mummy, which is out in theaters right now.
Okay. And if you listeners would like to suggest anything that we will add to this pouch, you can email us at horrorcoasttocoast@protonmail.com, and we'll add your movie into our pouch of destiny.
Yeah. And feel free to add comments.
Yeah, or you can leave it in the YouTube comments.
Oh, that's true. Okay. Fun. I'm excited.
All right, until next time.
All right. Until next time.
This podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share Alike 4.0 International License. For additional information and other media content, visit theferalthread.com. Thanks for listening. Until next week.